So there is, you may have noticed, huge emphasis in this work on the pelvic bowl. And it can lead to, curiously, an imbalance where it all happens in the pelvic bowl and we leave the rest of the body behind. But just to say, I feel it's necessary to reestablish the pelvic bowl as the ground of your being, as the place to which you return when you come home to yourself. And then you can, without sacrificing that, include that axis of exchange that runs up, for me, runs up to the top of my head from the perineum. So I'd like to explore a practice with you that looks at that sort of in an imagistic way that I'm hoping will be helpful to you. It's been helpful to me. Begin, if you would, by softening, by letting go, by descending. To me, it's all the same thing. It's all a way of landing and anchoring in being, which is the ground of our reality, and softening I think of them as fish hooks that tug us out of the present. That busyness, that commitment to doing, the responsibilities we carry, the shame we carry, the anxiety we carry, all of that inhibits the ability that is innately ours to come home to the present and find ourselves regulated and guided by the present. So allow an undoing. So that is a matter of letting go of the commitment to doing, but it's also an undoing of the patterns that hold you in that commitment. And these are physical patterns that live in the body, the patterns that warn against coming to rest in the present, that warn against not being vigilant in a way that is a witness to the present rather than partaking of the vigilance that you attune to when you have a state of withness, when you are with what is here now. And to let it be as utterly simple as possible. Simply sitting here at this moment with nothing telling you that being present isn't enough, that you need those other engines, those fish hooks that tug you away, to just settle. The way a pebble tossed into a pond drops and settles on the bottom of the pond. And allow the part of you that wants to organize, wants to attach meaning, wants to get it right. Allow that part of you to take a little rest for now, so that there is no striving at all. There is just an attunement to this moment that has never visited before, will never come again. It is, in its uniqueness, transient and transforming. And when you feel yourself settling into the subtle simplicity of the present, bring your awareness to the pelvic floor. And to do that with a recognition of the affinity between the pelvic floor and the earth beneath your feet. They are each a form of ground. They are each means of helping you ground. And grounding is simply coming into relationship. When you are ungrounded, you have come out of relationship into yourself, into your head. And to feel that relationship with the pelvic floor, to bring your awareness to it without foisting any expectations on it, to just feel the delicacy of its life in this moment. And in that delicacy, there are so many subtle exchanges, a universe of exchanges. And to allow yourself to be with that life, the intimacy of that life. And to feel how the pelvic floor itself is grounded by its relationship with the earth beneath your feet. And so there is a deep, abiding calm on which the pelvic floor rests. And the life that you feel in the pelvic floor is born of the same source as the life in the earth beneath your feet. And allow the pelvic floor to very gently release to the in-breath. And it's like a billowing down. The release is unorganized in the same way that as you release a leaf to a breeze, you're not organizing how that leaf is carried through the air. You're not organizing how the pelvic floor billows down. That release is one that carries you into the unknown. And you feel the in-breath flood the body, and the pelvic floor releases to the out-breath. And you feel that release flood the body. There is a gentle undulation through your being as the breath wave passes through it with each in-breath, with each out-breath. And the whole of the body is available to that undulation. And still there is the simplicity of being here in this moment. And as the breath fills the pelvic floor, feel it filling up the front a little and filling up the back a little. So it lands on the pelvic floor and moves a little bit up the front to just below the belly button, and a little bit up the back to the top of the sacrum. So it's like a spreading. I think of how a pebble tossed into a pond initiates those concentric circles floating out. It's a similar thing for me. The breath arrives on the pelvic floor like that pebble arriving on the surface of the pond. And there is this upwelling of breath up the front and up the back. And with the next in-breath, allow that same upwelling, but this time the breath continues up the back, beyond the sacrum, to below the shoulder blades. So it's still traveling up the front, but now it's traveling up the back even further. And on the next in-breath, the same thing happens, but the upwelling continues up the back to the top of the shoulders and releases out. And I feel that release of the out breath as something that releases through the pores of my skin. It just gently leaves the body through every pore. And with the next in-breath, feel again the little upwelling through the front and that upwelling up the back all the way to the top of the head. And the out-breath releases through the pores of your skin. And this time, with the in-breath, allow it to travel up the body and find a point at the very top, at the very center of the head. I think of the circus with you have to swing this sledgehammer and you send the weight up a track and you're trying to get it to ring the bell at the top of the track. It's a little how it feels, where the breath carries up. It hits that point at the top of the head with a little resonance that reminds me of that game at the circus. And bring that point at the top of your head into relationship with the perineum, which is so far below it and directly below it. And imagine, if you will, that the pelvic bowl is a sailboat floating in the ocean. And the sailboat has a heavy cargo. There's a significant ballast. And just take a moment to feel that floating quality of the sailboat that is the pelvic bowl, and the weight of it that connects it with the earth. And still the breath can move through the pelvic bowl, but it has a gravity to it. It has a stability to it that comes from that ballast. And then feel the mast of that sailboat rising up from the top of the pelvic bowl all the way to that point at the top of your head. And the mast, it's a thin mast rising up. It's thin but strong. And the sails are down, but there's a rope from the top of the mast that follows the mast down, the rope with which you would haul the sail up. And let that rope be tightened. It's coiled around a hook at the bottom. It's got a tone to it. And then see if you can feel simultaneously the ballast of the sailboat floating, and that, like a cello string, that chord rising to the top of your head. And feel them as one if you can. And be aware of how attention on the chord can diminish the sense of the ballast in the sailboat, and vice versa, and bit by bit bring them together. So eventually you feel the ballast as the resonant base for that chord. It's the ballast that keeps the tone in that chord. It's the chord that brings the ballast to life with its resonance. And then allow your awareness to gently dilate into the world around you so that you open your awareness to the present in its wholeness. And just allow that chord to attune, to resonate, to hum into life, subtly but distinctly, as your awareness begins to feel the present. And there is no controlling the chord. There's no striving. There is just a willingness. And the ballast holds it and keeps the tone of it. But you feel the whole of your being quickened by the unnameable resonances that pass through it. The present is being felt through those resonances, and still the ballast holds it in place. And when you feel ready, allow your eyes to gently open, gently, no hurry. And as they open, allow your gaze to be soft, so there's no hard focus to it. But you'll find that whatever your gaze rests upon, there is a resonance in that chord running up through the spaciousness of your being. And that resonance carries to that ballast in the pelvic bowl. And you feel things acutely and intimately. And you may find that none of it is seeming to be dead, that there is shared life, there is a sense of mutual awareness in everything around you. And be aware for yourself of how the ballast in the sailboat floating in the ocean of the pelvic bowl, how that enables the resonance of the chord. And how that availability of the chord brings to life that stability in the pelvic bowl. And that brings the practice to a formal close. But stay there, linger there, play with it in your own way, journal if you'd like to. Simply be with it for as long as you wish.